Look at this. Somebody come look at
it. Sure. On your last one, yes. On the debt limit package, I know the president did a pretty thorough rebuttal in the Rose Garden of the various proposals that have been brought out there, but there is an emerging thought today among House Republicans that repealing the Inflation Reduction Act has to be part of this debt limit package. So I wanted to get the White House's impression of that offer.
Here we go.
Let's be clear what MAGA attacks on the Inflation Reduction Act would mean for American families. I'm going to lay this out for you. And I kind of talked about it a little bit, but this has a little bit of fuller layout. So offshore tens of thousands of manufacturing jobs, including in districts many of these members actually represent. So they're doing their job there, I see. Send investments in supply chains back to China. Raise costs for prescription drugs, insulin, and home utility bills. Remember, that's kind of the core of what the Inflation Reduction Act and what you've heard us say over and over. It will hurt American energy independence, protect wealthy tax cheats, and make it harder to get refunds from the IRS. Increase the deficit in the name of special interests like Big Pharma and billionaires, because as we know, the Inflation Reduction Act actually helps in reducing the deficit. And so this is what they would be doing if MAGA Republicans get their way. This is what the attacks lay out and what they would be repealing as well. These really key, critical, important issues that matter to the American people. And guess what? This is an unpopular agenda that the Americans do not support. They don't support this. So why would they go against what majority of the Americans want to do? And this is going to hurt their own district, hurt them and the Americans and their constituents in their own district.
And a quick one on Sudan. Are there plans to evacuate U.S. embassy personnel from there?
So just a couple things a couple things I want to say about that. And do you mean Americans more broadly, or are you talking about? Okay, so look, the U.S. Embassy in Khartoum's security alert on April 16th stated that due to uncertain security situation in Khartoum and closures of the airport, Americans should have no expectations of a U.S. government coordinated evacuation at this time. But we expect that will remain the case. We have been urging American citizens not to travel to Sudan since at least back in October of last year. When the State Department travel advisory was set at a level 4, which means do not travel. That's what a level 4 means. It is imperative that U.S. citizens in Sudan make their own arrangements to stay safe in these difficult circumstances. We advise U.S. citizens to remain sheltered in place and to contact the U.S. Embassy if they need assistance, and that is currently where we are at this time.
What a joke!
What about the embassy personnel?
So, look, we have no higher priority to make sure that our government, make sure that the safety of our U.S. government personnel and their families overseas. That is clearly a priority for this administration. The State Department plans for all contingencies to ensure their safety depending on local conditions, but we have nothing imminent at this time to announce. We have made clear to both sides that any attacks, threats, or dangers posed to our diplomats are totally unacceptable, and you've heard from Secretary Blinken directly yesterday on this particular issue.
We saw Evan Gershkovich today for the first time since he was detained. Obviously, Russia's denying his appeal. I wanted to get your reaction to that, but also ask you about, well, actually, let me get your reaction to that first.
You sure about that?
Yeah, we do have something at the top. Look, we're deeply concerned by the news that Russia will continue to wrongfully detain Evan following a sham judicial proceeding today, and that's what we saw earlier today. The Biden-Harris administration is engaging with Russia through every available channel to bring Evan and fellow American Paul Whelan home, who is also a priority for us, and you have heard us speak to that for the past several months. And as we have said before, the charges against Evan are baseless.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
And we call on Russian Federation to immediately release him. We also call for the immediate release of Paul, who has been wrongfully detained on sham espionage charges for more than 4 years. We remain in touch with their families and admire their courage in the face of these unimaginable circumstances. I know you had a follow-up to that, Mary.
Paul Whelan. Both he and Evan Gershkovich are being charged with espionage. You just called them sham espionage charges. Does the U.S. believe that freeing Evan is going to be just as difficult as it has been to bring Paul Whelan home, given the similarity of charges?
So look, I'm not going to, look, these are always challenging circumstances, right, as we have known, and we've seen this play out under this administration this past 2 years. Not going to get into hypotheticals, not going to get into negotiations in public or from the podium. As you can understand, these are sensitive matters, so I just want to be incredibly careful from here, but don't want to get ahead of that. Just know that we are committed to bringing them both home.
Whelan's family is concerned, though, and has been vocal about their concern that the administration might leave Paul behind. In fact, his sister Elizabeth is now pausing her interactions with the administration because she says she won't re-engage until you, quote, stop wasting her time and come up with something more than thoughts and prayers.
Okay.
What do you say to her?
I don't want to discuss private conversations or meetings or interactions between the National Security Council and families who are wrongfully detained. What I can say is this is a president who's committed to getting U.S. citizens who are wrongfully detained and being held hostage home. And so that is a commitment that you have seen from this president the last 2 years, but definitely don't want to go in a back and forth in public. We remain in touch with their families and certainly admire their courage and in the current challenges that they are currently facing, and it's certainly unimaginable. And so, but don't want to get into private interactions or go back and forth with the family.
Thank you. Julie Sue's confirmation hearing is set for this Thursday. Given how some Democrats have been talking about their reservations when it comes to her and her record, is the White House confident that you will have the votes needed to get her through?
Here's what we're confident, and because of her proven track record, as you have just laid out in your question about speaking about her track record, and her track record, you see it working across the aisle, sitting down with business community as well as organized labor and delivering strong results for the American economy. And that's why Julie was unanimously confirmed as a Deputy Secretary of Labor. Let's not forget, she actually went through this process before. It was done by all Senate Democrats at that time. And so that's why Julie's nomination has been endorsed by a range of business groups. I'll list them out for you right now, from small business majority to labor, to LA Chamber of Commerce, and labor leaders from United Mine Workers to NABTU and to LUNA to IBEW. As you know, she served under Marty Walsh's, or served as his right hand, Marty Walsh's right hand, for the last 2 years as they helped produce historic job growth. As we've seen, you've heard us talk about the 12.5 million jobs that has been created under this administration, 800,000 manufacturing jobs. This is something that, certainly the Department of Labor and as herself and Marty Walsh were very directly involved in. So we're looking forward to the hearing coming up on Thursday and feel confident, to your question, we do feel confident about Julie's confirmation process. Again, she has a proven track record that she can stand on proudly, and we are proud to have the president is proud to have nominated her.
Hey, that's pretty good.